The Mission District is one of the oldest neighborhoods in San Francisco. Dating back to the late 1700s, the area was named after the church Misión San Francisco de Asís, which today is known as Mission Dolores. This church remains as the longest standing structure in San Francisco. During the mid-1900s, a large number of Mexican immigrants moved into the Mission area, giving it the Chicano-Latino culture for which it is known today. The Mission District is known as the epicenter of San Francisco Mexican culture. With multiple Latin American businesses scattered throughout the neighborhood, family-owned supermercados and carniceria supply the fresh tortilla chips, chiles, tomatoes, and cheese needed for the chilaquiles. To start, for our salsa, we're going to need the following: 8 tomatillos, 3 limes, 1 onion, 2 serrano peppers, 3 jalapeno peppers, 2 pasilla peppers, 2 cloves of garlic, half a cup of chicken broth, a handful of cilantro, and salt and pepper to taste. For now, go ahead and just grab all your tomatillos and throw them in a bowl, add water, and then set them aside. Make sure your knife is nice and sharp, and you can go ahead and start roughly chopping up an onion. I like to peel off the last layer first and then go ahead and chop up roughly. Don't worry too much about it being perfect, as we're going to throw all of this in the blender, so as long as you can get it into small pieces, that's all that matters. And then go ahead, grab your blender and throw them all in there. Grab the second half of the onion and do the exact same thing. If you would like to add onions on top of your chilaquiles in the end, I would go ahead and cut up another onion and then just set it aside so that you have that for your toppings. If not, feel free to just throw it all in there. And then just go ahead and grab about a third or half of your cilantro and chop it up real nice and fine. Again, doesn't really matter as it's going to go in the blender, but it's a lot easier to manage and you won't get these large bitter pieces. Now you can go ahead and start peeling the tomatillos. The water helps make this a lot easier to peel. Usually they're very sticky, so this helps with that. Go ahead and start peeling your garlic and then chop it up. The blender will do most of the work for you, but chopping it up nice and fine will ensure that you don't get any big chunks in your salsa. Don't mind me struggling, I'm trying my best. And then go ahead and toss that in the blender. Grab your pasilla peppers and then start de-seeding them. We're gonna roast these, so it's good to make them nice and flat so that we get a nice surface area for cooking later. Set those aside and then grab your limes, roll them out so they're a little easier to squeeze, and go ahead and cut them up. Once you've got those nice and cut, start squeezing them all in. You want to get as much juice as possible. Most of it will cook out, so it's a good way to get that citrus flavor inside your salsa. Go ahead and grab the broth from earlier and toss it in there. And now we're gonna roast our peppers. Make sure your skillet is nice and hot. You want that surface to be dry so it could be almost rock-like, and start roasting them really well. Then you can go ahead and toss your peppers inside some boiling water. Once that's set up, go ahead and flip your peppers and then let them cook on the other side. Once those peppers are nice and hot, throw in your tomatillos. I would say give it about 5 minutes. And then go ahead, flip again. You're constantly gonna have to be flipping just so nothing burns, but you want everything to char up and cook nice and well. After a few minutes of everything boiling, set that aside and just let it sit. Go ahead and make sure everything is nice and cooked. You want the tomatillos to have a slightly off yellow color and to be soft to the touch, but you don't want them bursting open. Drain all the water and then go ahead and toss everything inside your blender. Before you throw in your peppers, remember to de-seed them. If you don't, it'll be extremely spicy. Some people really like this, but if you're sharing with anyone, make sure that you go ahead and take those out. Alright, now that those are nice and de-seeded, go ahead and toss them in. And then go ahead and blend everything together. There will always be a few chunks in there, but that's what gives the salsa its character, so don't worry too much about it as long as it's nice and edible. And since chilaquiles are traditionally a breakfast food, I want to go ahead and fry up an egg that went on top. You can do protein or various different kinds of meats, but I had an egg, so that's what I used. While that's cooking, make sure you throw in your salsa in a pot and get it to a boil. You want all the excess water to simmer out. And then go ahead and grab your tortilla chips. You can either make these on your own or buy some store-bought. It doesn't really matter. Stir your sauce up. And then go ahead and throw in the chips. You only want to soak them for a couple seconds. You don't want them to get soggy. You just want them to retain the flavor of the salsa. After a few seconds, I went ahead and scooped them out, put them on a plate, put my egg on top, added my onions from earlier. And there you have it. And you can go ahead and add any toppings that you would like, sour cream or cheese. These are very popular, but I just had the egg at hand, so that's what I went ahead and used. But still, one of my favorite dishes to make, very tasty, and it stores great for the future since the salsa and the chips don't mix until you're about to eat them.